introductions. Today we're going to take a little bit of a stab at some of the stuff that's happening here recently. Basically, we're not going over the coronavirus or Chinese virus if you're actually watching President Trump do his stuff because it originated from China. But what we're going to talk about is the stuff that
Can you spell that word?
Huh?
Can you spell that word?
What?
Originated.
Originated. No, I can't.
He can't even say it.
I can't even say it. Or, damn it! Now I can't even. Fuck you guys. what we're gonna talk. I'm gonna edit the shit out of this one. We're gonna have to cut, recut, splice it. Nobody needs to know that I'm a complete moron. But now what we're gonna go with, where we're going in is we're gonna go in the First and Second Amendment. The reason why we're talking about those two amendments right now, we're probably gonna go. Well, we actually talked about that. We're just gonna go over all the amendments.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do it spaced out because what a lot of people don't understand is, unlike most countries, they basically they have monarchs or they have someone that they actually have to go against. Our president isn't a monarch or anything like that. Right now, kind of is because of the way the emergency standing is right now. But one thing that we do have a freedom of is the right to petition, the right to our religion, and the right to voice our opinions, not actual facts. And we have the freedom of press. That's the First Amendment. What's going on right now is people are trying to do more PC political correctness. Yeah, I almost fucked that one up too. Political correctness, and even during his speeches right now, when it comes with the Chinese virus, is if he says Chinese virus, the press go up on him going, "Oh no, he said Chinese virus. We're being racist." No, that's a nation that it actually came from. It came from China. If you're being a douchebag and you're saying, "Oh, the Asians, they have that damn virus and they're gonna give it to us," you're a fucking moron. A serious fucking moron.
Well, you have to admit, the Kung Flu virus.
I like that term too.
Sounds better.
It sounds better. Kung Flu.
The Kung Fu virus. Yes, but there's a standard naming scheme that they use on these viruses. They usually name them in accordance with the region that they originated from.
Well, look at the
I'm just gonna point to you to say that fucking word. Well, okay. The people that hated the most, what was it, 1820 with the Spanish flu?
Yeah. No, 1918 was the Spanish
1918,
flu.
okay. 1918 was the Spanish flu. It was actually discovered in Kansas, in a university in Kansas. Now I have to go. Oh, I went over it really fast, so my memory isn't good on it. But it was either Kansas or Nebraska. That's where it originally was found. They called it the Spanish flu because it originated. I did it right. Originated in Spain.
Yeah.
Spanish hated it because we call it the Spanish flu, but it came from Spain.
Look at the what's it called, the MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome.
MERS.
Yeah, they got MERS.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It came from the
Middle East.
Yeah.
Middle East. And another thing, well, like we were talking before we started filming, was it's like calling a person retard. Can't do it right now because Karens get upset. And what it is, I even told my daughter this one time because I was driving a called the person in front of me a complete retard because they were being stupid. My daughter told me, it's like, you shouldn't say that word. Some people will get upset. I was like, okay, here's the difference. A person that is retarded and acting the way they are right now, that's that person right there. I know the difference because a person that has special needs and is mentally challenged, like apparently a person in my fucking family, but anyways, I won't call them retarded. Possibly.
Caveat.
It really does depend on if they're actually an individual who has a medical disability or a mental disability causing the issue. 9 times out of 10, they're not what the general populace refers to as retarded. Yes, they have special issues, but hell, half of the ones I know are smarter than half of the people who think that they're not retarded.
Well, I still like one time I was helping out some mentally handicapped people, and we were in the store, and I did something stupid. I was like, man, I'm a freaking retard. And the cashier just looks right at me, bug-eyed. He was like, sir, you shouldn't say that right now. And she pointed toward the mentally person that was helping her out. I was like, and the mentally handicapped guy was just like, no, he's being retarded. I have to help him out all the time. It's getting really, really bad. I'm like, thanks there, buddy, I guess. But and another thing that's getting really hit hard right now is with voicing your own opinion.
Oh yeah.
Is more or less comedians.
Mm-hmm.
Comedians, oh man,
well, they've been doing that for decades, though.
Yeah, they have. And what's surprising is we have an information surplus now to where we're able to look at what comedians say and go back to where they're like 10 years. Kevin Hart had it hit the worst when he was supposed to host the Oscars. And someone went through 10 years of his tweets on Twitter to go in and say, he said this right here. This is horrible against the homosexual community. I'm like,
Queers is always getting upset about something.
well, yeah. That's what happens when you're 1%, though. Anyways.
Well, you know, an interesting note on that one. I ran across a news article that was talking about what they're calling genetic chimerism, where it's not it's not male or female. It's like a woman can have strands or segments of male cells in their brains and in other portions of their body, and vice versa. A man can have strands or segments of female cells in their body, or vice versa. I'm not even sure how they're trying to classify all of that. It was just something I stumbled across, and I'm like thinking to myself, well, you know, that really does kind of go to show that, you know, I'm guessing some of the individuals who have that preference probably were born that way.
Yeah.
Well, it could be.
And I'm not trying to say I have anything against them. You know, as long as they do theirs and don't try to push it on me.
Well, that's the thing.
That's my big thing for everybody.
You know, they want tolerance, but you know, if you don't want to tolerate them based on say religion or whatever, then you're being intolerant, and they won't tolerate that. Well, tolerance means you tolerate non-tolerance.
Yeah.
You know.
But that goes into another thing about tolerance is religion, because we have freedom of religion, and a lot of people are
for now.
Yeah, for now. But going up against something that, hey, you believe in one thing, it's okay. I was like, people are screaming up. It's like, we need to take prayers out of school. Well, there's some schools that actually took prayer out of school, and they actually allow the Muslim community, the Muslim religion,
Well,
to do
they
their prayers.
took Christian prayer.
Yeah,
Well,
which
this
which
is
if you're into something like that, if you're going out and say, hey, you believe in this God, just
this is where a lot of people are making a mistake on that one. There are some schools that will force the children to pray.
yeah, some of them are actually Christian.
That's where they're trying. No, I'm not talking about Christian. I'm talking about public schools.
Yeah, I know
are,
that.
That are forcing the children to pray to whatever teacher's God has them praying. And that's where religion shouldn't be in the school. In other words,
Yeah,
we're not
It shouldn't be
saying that.
forced.
That's right. We're not saying that the children don't have the right to pray when they want to pray. It shouldn't be a forced community action.
exactly. That I'm totally with that part.
Well, China does that too. I mean, and North Korea do the same thing. Is they force the kids to worship the whatever leader's in
dictator.
power.
The dictator.
Yeah, like Kim Jong Un. The people over there think he's God, and I'm not joking. They
No.
literally-
It's
And they pray to him.
Yeah, they think he is the reincarnation of his father,
Who's
and his father's father, who was the god. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
which it's really kind of baffling the way all of that one got described, because how could you be the reincarnation of somebody who hadn't died before you were born?
Yeah.
And then and that though is you have churches and everything where you can go. The churches, mosque, what's the rabbi stuff? Synagogue. You have all those religious places where you go and you do your religion there. Schools is for learning the basic stuff to actually survive. Religion,
Well, they used to be. Now they're in indoctrination camps.
pretty much.
No. My opinion on schools, and this one's going
But
to be...
that's happened since like the 80s and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But
Mm.
what the it's not like it's a different teaching. Okay, you teach in an actual school. You teach math, you teach reading, you teach geometry, you teach science, you teach English. That's great there.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then you go in if you desire, and this is the freedom that we're talking about in the First Amendment, is if you desire to go and believe into a Christian God, Jewish God, Islamic God, Wiccan, whatever. You go to those special places to go study that type of religion if you're actually interested in that. You have to have some kind of separation with that. A lot of people are going to be upset at me like that. Yes, you should keep prayer in school. No, school is for learning academic stuff.
Well, and then that's what I was saying is...
Is that an actual word?
I don't
made
think
a new
so.
word.
I...
Put it in the dictionary. Cobwebs.
It's not that prayer should be removed from school. It's just that
Well,
forced prayer should not ever be part of school.
yeah,
And
even in schools, when I was in school, they had what is it, groups, or is it like
they
the
have,
Fellowship of Christian Athletes or something like that.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that, where you go out and why can't you have the same thing for like any other religions? Where most, they do.
Well, that's because the founders were Christian, and this is a Christian nation.
No, some of them were atheists.
over half of
yes,
our
some.
founders were atheists, and some of them were what you would call borderline agnostic,
Yeah.
whereas they
But they base the Declaration and the Constitution on biblical principles.
Yeah, because most of them are actually Masons.
Yeah.
but on the same token, they understood that if you force people to all fall under one specific religion, it's going to cause havoc and chaos. Because
Well, that's actually the reason why the first Pilgrims come over here is because they weren't Catholic and they were Protestant and they were being persecuted by the Church of Rome, or the Church of Rome, and they were led over here by, I don't know, God Himself to
and
a new land.
And then that's what I was getting at is, people try to say, oh, secularism is bad. No, the secularist, the true secularist is probably the religious person's best friend. Because we're not going to say, oh, we're going to institute religion into the government, and then the government's going to institute that religion down onto everybody else. No, we're saying that government and religion should stay separate from each other. And since schools are an entity of the government, unless you want your kids to go to a religious school, which would then not be an entity of the government, religion should not be taught at schools.
Yeah.
Well, what really it is though, through all this is my kid shouldn't do this stuff, even though they're doing this. It's a person that's individual and wants to be selfish in a way, and they're trying to get their kids to be on their own, have their own thoughts. But sometimes the parent is over bounds.
Well, the thing about it is the individual student, even though they're being taught by the government, they still have the right of freedom of religion. They can practice their religion however they want to in school, and the schools cannot say a word.
That's right.
Because in all reality, it is a government institution.
Yeah.
If you're going to public, well, it's a government institution, and you should be able to do. And I'll say this too: you're supposed to say whatever you want to say. They can't. They're trying to teach in school proper politeness. I learned proper politeness from my granny.
Yeah.
And it's from my family members mostly.
Yeah. Well, schools nowadays, they don't teach the Constitution. They don't teach the Declaration.
Most government.
And here's the kicker: they don't teach cursive writing.
Yeah.
Because why, y'all? Because the Declaration and the Constitution were written in cursive, and if you can't read or write cursive, if you can't write cursive, you can't read cursive, and if you can't read the Constitution, you don't know what rights are being taken away from you.
Well, it gets even worse than that. I says, it's been a few years now, but I'm pretty sure they haven't changed it any. When my daughter was going into to math, and she comes home and says, my teacher said that pi is 3 and that I need to work this equation for pi for 3.
And that's
And I says, no, that's wrong. She
Yeah.
says, but that's what my teacher... I says, no. Next time your teacher says that to you... And I sat down and I drew out a mathematical formula basically explaining, okay, the circumference of a circle is this.
Yeah.
You judge the circumference of a circle by pi. Work the math this way. Now, when you take the number 3.14, blah, 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 and insert it into this equation, you get the correct circumference for a circle. When you take the number 3, you come up short on one side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is it? What, 3.1?
3.14, and I can't remember the rest of it because that's all I've ever needed to work with.
The 3.14 is most commonly said that way, but the expression of pi is actually an infinite number. It's
Right.
3.14 and then like 200 billion.
Yeah, you could fit like a good portion of it around the top part.
Yeah, the number 3.14 never ends.
Right. It's
It's an infinite number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get it by, I think it's dividing 2 by, or is it 7 by 22? Yes, dividing 7 by 22.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, on that note, we'll go on. One of the other parts of the First Amendment is freedom of the press. Right now,
we have very little free press.
no, we have a lot of free press. The only problem with it is a lot of it's wrong.
Well,
Well, right now, all they're trying to do is create mass hysteria, especially with the situation we're in right now.
The free press that we have is actually being run by the state, and
They've been doing that since like the 50s.
Yeah, and it's nothing but a propaganda arm for the government. The real free press are these little individual podcast
Yeah.
or oh hell, what's his name?
Blogs.
Blogs, and there was a guy back in the 90s.
And
Well, right now you got like
I'm not
Ben
disagreeing.
Shapiro and
Yeah.
Glenn Beck and
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with
I
either
know.
of y'all on that one. I think that press has become an industry versus a means by which we share information. And
Yeah.
when the founding fathers decided that there should be freedom of press or that there should be freedom of speech, they were aiming at information distribution outlets.
Yeah.
Where
well, they didn't expect us to have an infinite library because that's basically what we have right now is
Yeah.
an infinite library, and we have so much counteracting information, but it's also to the point to where a lot of people are saying, yeah, we have. I was like Thomas Jefferson. A lot of people bring him up, especially when it comes to slavery, and everybody's like, "Oh, he helped. He didn't really write the Declaration of Independence. Well, he wrote. No, James Adams wrote the Constitution." But a lot of people want to say, since a lot of the founding fathers had slaves and everything, we shouldn't listen to them because they did bad things. Dude, there's so many freaking bad things I've done in my lifetime, but people care about me, and they look down at me at times, going, "David, maybe you shouldn't have done that."
well, and you,
For that
there's a lot of things that people have to realize.
No one's perfect.
No one is perfect, but there are a lot of things that were culturally okay.
Yeah, we're applying, or the PC crowd is applying 21st century standards on a late 18th century behavior. You can't do that.
Yeah, well, it's like
I mean, and you know,
it's like black people calling other black people that are conservatives or Republicans Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
Uncle Tom in that story was the hero.
Mhm.
He was the protagonist of that whole story. And there's, oh, you're just Uncle Tom. So you're calling me a hero? I'm getting confused right now. Are you trying to weird me out?
see, and this falls back to another point. I've said it many, many times before. We're all human. We should just
Yeah.
freaking ditch the white, black, yellow.
Yeah.
What does it matter what color your skin is? Those all really boil down to cultural differences
Well,
at that point.
biblically, there's no such, there's no, well, damn, let me rephrase this. Nah, skip it. That's going way off into to a different.
But you know, I wasn't even trying to say, you know, from the biblical standpoint or any standpoint therein. It's just we're all human. As long as you are capable of interbreeding, you are the same species.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
My deal is as long as you actually are a halfway decent person, you're kind to me as kind to me, kind of you. I don't give a shit about whatever your freaking opinion is about other things.
right.
My opinion is usually different from everybody else's. My opinion from you is different from yours to mine.
Well, look at what you're wearing. I mean, you wearing flip flops for God's sakes.
Yeah, well, I
Kinda
don't like.
different.
I don't like my feet to be like encased and stuff. I hate even my work shoes. I have them spread out to where I can just slip them on and off.
See, when I'm wearing shoes, if I don't have them on tight, I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's weird.
I've worn boots like this all my life, so it's comfortable with me.
Yeah.
I mean, now on that note, you know, I'm walking around sock-footed right now because
It would make sense if I was from Arkansas.
I'm not always. I don't like to wear shoes when I don't have to wear shoes.
Yeah.
But if I'm wearing shoes, I want it to feel like it's part of my foot, not like it's some loose floppy object
Yeah.
surrounding my foot.
And then we come from, sorry folks, and then we come from Freeman Assembly. Now,
Yeah.
the original idea on this was they wanted to gather up and complain about the taxes that were being put on them from the England's king to pay for the war effort that he was dealing with. What was that? Was it?
He was fighting France.
Yeah.
But
But okay, gathering up and that kind of aspects to come together for either a just cause or the same cause. Yes, we should have that right.
We do.
Now, saying that, we have that right. But throughout our own history, even our own government has tried to stop that. Civil rights movement was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Civil War, that it was actually caused. They wanted to gather it up and everything, and they wanted their rights to be not taken for granted.
look at that most recent gun rally they had.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll go with that in the same time frame. We can go to the Women's March. I mean, yes, if you feel that you're being oppressed in any way, and there's a lot of people that gathered, it could be good and it could be bad. It could be ridiculous. Like there was one guy that wanted to have a straight man rally, and I think it was in Baltimore. Do I agree with it? Not really. It's now if we had a culture to where we as men were actually being oppressed, as such women feel they're being oppressed. Yeah. Okay.
Well, if you look at the straight white Christian male, there is a lot of bigotry toward them.
Well, in all truth, it's a causality of what happened 200 years ago, and they're still keep on bringing this up.
And I think that a lot of the bigotry toward what you're saying is the white straight Christian male is backlash.
Yeah.
Which, if people would start to stop and say, wait a minute, this action has caused this action. What is this action going to cause?
Yeah.
Because that's basically all it's doing is it's this action has caused backlash, which is now causing this action, which is now causing backlash, which it's like, okay, I got a bucket full of mud balls. I'm going to throw one. Oh, it hit him, and he's got a bucket too, so he's throwing one back.
Yeah. Well, with this whole backlash, I mean, the government they won't throw mud balls; they'll throw bullets, and a bunch of these.
Well, and
depending on where you're actually at too.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Antifa stuff happening in Portland, Oregon. The mayor has literally stopped the police from doing their job, which they're supposed to.
Which he had no authority to do anyway.
Exactly, but it literally they're all the protect and serve. That's what a cop's supposed to do, is protect and serve, and they're not allowed to protect and serve their community, even though these people are causing literally riots. They're literally causing damage against other people, and that kind of protest shouldn't be. It's the same thing as a Klan meeting, in my opinion. They're both terrorist groups.
Yeah.
They're both wanting their opinion to be pushed forward, and it's ridiculous.
And with Klan, they want to kill blacks, Jews, Catholics. Antifa want to kill everybody who's not like them. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their stated goal.
Yeah, and I disagree with those ideals, and I disagree with the people pushing those ideals. But unfortunately, I also believe that we should have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that they should have the right to say, this is how I feel, but I don't believe they should have the right to go enforce how they feel.
Yeah. And that stems from not being taught the Constitution, not being taught morals,
Yeah.
ethics.
Politeness.
Yeah. And it goes back to them being indoctrinated by the state.
Yeah.
And
Well, what they have right now is you don't really have any kind of competition. If your kid wants to be in a soccer team, they literally. I've literally heard like Joe Rogan talking about his kid during the soccer team. It's like, hey, what's the score on the team? Oh, we don't keep the score. Why the fuck would you not keep a score on
Yeah.
a fucking something that's competition?
Yeah. Because they don't want to
Offend or make a kid feel bad.
Yeah, which
you know
is
what?
stupid.
I literally made my kid feel bad. I've called her petty. There's a reason why I've called her petty, because she was being petty. She cried. I told her what the meaning of the word petty was, because she didn't know what the word petty was. She was just crying. I was like, do you even know what the word petty means? No. Okay, this is what petty is. Petty is you're being a person that, I can't even remember the definition of petty. A person that is saying what's the definition of petty, guys? I can't even think it off the top of my head.
I can use it in a sentence, but to give you a proper definition, I think I would have to go get my dictionary.
This is not looking good for me.
Hey, what's it like being old?
What's it like being a retard? That's another thing.
But
I know, I'm mentally challenged. But no, I literally told her she was just being petty. That her needs were thinking that she was so high on them, and all reality was right here on low.
Well, that's because these damn teachers and professors and parents are telling their kids, "Oh, you're special, you're super, you're number one. There's nothing ever going to go wrong. You're always going to win."
Well, that's like what happened a couple of years back.
They're not taught there's going to be a winner and loser, and you will lose from time to time, and you'll learn more from losing, and get up, get your ass up off the floor, dust yourself off, and go again.
Yeah, I even told my daughter now. She's like, I want to be an artist. I was like, okay, I want you to realize something. Yeah, Dad, I know, and this is her words. Yeah, Dad, I know I'm going to have another job. The art's probably not going to pay me that well, but I want to pursue my art project. I was like, oh, me and your mother actually did a good job, huh? That's basically what the first thing that I was thinking. I was like, but you still want to do the art? I was like, yeah. I'm just going to have to work at it and practice, like you said, Dad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a good parent. I can't believe it. How did that happen? But it also comes back to there was a story that happened where a teacher, because the kid was wearing a Marine Corps t-shirt or sweater, he's like, you do realize that people that go into the Marine Corps are morons. I was like, I've had a person that does like probably 1,000-yard shot can tell you difference on that. Yeah. Because and that's any kind of military. I mean, you shouldn't go out and say, hey, that person right there that does janitorial work, he's a loser. You should get your education. That was another thing that happened right now. Is people they're teaching kids to get an education, and right now there are floodgates of stupidity being educated. Because hey, I have a liberal arts degree. I have a degree in something. I should be put ahead, and you should pay me $100,000 a year. No, fuckface. This is how it's going to happen. You're going to have to find a job that you're going to have to work hard at and build yourself up. If you're, being a mechanical engineer, I went in and I was going to be industrial maintenance. There's only one problem with that. In this town that I'm living in right now, I would have to move to Dallas, move to Austin, or move where they have something to where I could do that in, or move to a place, and I decided I didn't want to move. I have something I can't even use. But
they have a pill for that now.
They have a pill for that now. I work
it all.
I work at a job now where I'm happy with it. I may not be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I'm doing stuff on the side that I actually enjoy, like this video for YouTube, and I enjoy it. That's the difference on freedom and realizing where you're at and see what we can do.
Well, most of these people that think that they're worth $100,000 or more. My grandpa had a saying: they've been educated way past their intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with being a roughneck on or
God, they make stupid money.
yeah.
We stopped at. I just did that. So we're gonna start on the Second Amendment now, and what's going on right now with this is a lot of people are finding out how much they're actually being limited on what they can and cannot buy.
And a lot of people have discovered that the Second Amendment is not for hunting. Period.
Yeah. The Second Amendment is stated in there to
A well regulated or a well regulated
retain a
well-regulated
militia.
the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that the word militia means the military. No, it does not. The word militia is the citizens.
Yeah.
And we've had militias drawn up during World War II on the West Coast because they were worried about the Japanese invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would just put those people in concentration camps.
no, well, they were worried about a cultural invasion.
Yeah.
But the militia has and always will be the citizens of the U.S. You know, if you're a citizen, you're part of the militia.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what color your skin is.
And
you're part of the militia.
Another thing, any and all. See, I'm a strict reader of, or have a literal interpretation of the Constitution. And any and all laws, federal, state, local, whatever, that come into conflict or restrict the access to the Second Amendment, is unconstitutional. The National Firearms Act, the assault weapons ban that we had during Clinton's term,
Yeah.
The assault weapons ban that they're trying to push through Congress right now.
Yeah.
It's all unconstitutional. And like in my home state of Oklahoma, we finally have got constitutional carry.
Yeah.
And that means I can carry, well, if you read it like I do, there's no limitations where or when you can carry it. But if you been indoctrinated by the state, you can't carry it in court, church, schools, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's only if you get caught.
Well, and the founding fathers did not intend for the Constitution to be. They wrote it on a literal. They wrote it on a literal frame.
Mm-hmm.
They did not write it on a framework of what are they called? Parables.
Mm-hmm.
Where you would have to interpret them every single time you wanted to use them.
If the founding fathers would have known what the shitstorm that we have now, they would have been much more specific in the framing of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
But to me, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed is, broad enough to where they should not be freaking infringed.
Well, it's even simpler than that. It's the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That right there statement does not limit the type of arms or anything else. And then the reasoning they added to that for the purpose of maintaining a healthy militia, so as if the government I can't cite it word for word, but basically they wrote that one amendment and the amendments, or they wrote that one constitutional portion for the simple statement of if the government gets out of control, the people need to be able to take it back.
Yeah.
We don't want the government's military, which is a necessary function in order to maintain peace from.
They actually never wanted as a professional standing army either.
Right, but what I'm saying is
they did that like what
we
20 years later.
we need the professional standing army in order to defend our own borders from other countries. And they knew that might happen, which is why they put that clause in there so that if at any point in time we had to develop a standing army that was empowered by the government to protect our borders, that army would not be turned against the people.
It will be. But, and see, a country with a professional standing army is always turned against people eventually. I mean, look at what Julius Caesar did when he crossed the Rubicon. You know?
Most recently was Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or China, North Korea.
yeah.
You know, those are PSAs that were turned against the people.
Yeah.
And the only reason that it hasn't happened here yet, and that's a yet, because it will happen, is because everybody, or most everybody, is armed.
Yeah. And
that's also the reason why Japan during World War II never invaded, because Emperor Hirohito said we cannot invade the U.S. because behind every blade of grass will be a
I was talking to
a firearm.
I was talking to a Russian special forces guy. I think it's
Spetsnaz.
Yeah, Spetsnaz. And
Those are hardcore dudes, man. I've seen some of their training stuff.
Yeah, I see some of the training stuff too. And he was like, "There's no way we would invade your country." I was like, "What?" Well, that one, it's good that you're not even going to try. It's like, one, Texas. Two, everybody more or less has a gun and knows how to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
And the proportion of those amount of people that know how to shoot it, you're looking at probably about 8%. And 20% just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the thing with a firearm is you don't have to know how to shoot it. If you've got a group of people and you're aiming in their general direction and you pull the trigger, you're going to hit something.
Yeah, I still don't even want to be around those types of people.
But
I've seen so many accidents.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Go on YouTube and look up gun fails, and you'll see why
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to have a weapon.
But,
I mean, you're right, but some people shouldn't.
But that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is an invading army thinks about that.
Yeah.
So what if they don't have good aim? If they're aiming in our general direction and they pull the trigger, somebody's going to get hit.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the Revolutionary War, the most successes that we had were with the woodsmen.
Yeah.
You know, the hunters with the sniper rifles.
Was basically
Three-
the militia, the actual militia.
Yeah, and what they would do is they fought dirty, which I mean.
Well, that's most places.
Well,
I mean, look at
what's-
Vietnam. Look at Afghanistan. They're guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
What's the difference between dirty and clean in war?
All right, I'll tell you, the British Redcoats, they had their officers were not to be targeted at all. All right, it was a basic infantryman that would line up and shoot the other infantrymen in volley fire. And by the rules of war of that time frame, the only people that could be targeted were the people with firearms, or the grunts. What we did was we targeted the officers because they were the brains behind it.
The head of the snake.
Yeah, and if you cut the head of the snake off, the body will die.
But my simple statement was yes, I understand that, and that was perfect in the explanation. But when it comes to war, really, what action can you deem as a dirty action? You're literally trying to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the main reason
You can't get any dirtier than that.
Yeah.
You've already got blood on your hands.
Well,
that was actually the main reason why they wanted to keep it to where we are allowed to keep and bear arms, is because during that time frame, the British were taking their the rifles and everything else away from the public, so
And
they
were
couldn't
taking-
defend themselves.
and they were taking swords and daggers and knives. But let me say this: The right to keep and bear arms does not mean firearms. It means rifles, pistols, shotguns, knives, daggers, swords, axes, spears, shields. They can be used offensively. Bow and arrow, crossbow, anything and everything. A rock. Anything and everything that can be used to kill somebody is an arm.
Yeah.
You know, if you train well enough, you can be classified as a lethal weapon.
Yeah.
So it's not just about firearms. It is about anything that can be used to defend yourself or someone else.
Yeah. Well, that's like the ancient martial arts I trained in. It's a Scottish martial arts. All you got, basically, it's just a bunch of head butting and kicking when you're down, but it works. That was a joke.
You have to be really, really drunk to incorporate it. It's like the Scottish version of drunken boxing.
It fucking works.
I mean, hell, you know, I can use my pliers here as an arm to kill somebody very easily. You know, yeah.
Poke you out in the eye. But what a lot of people right now are finding out is how much restriction they have.
Oh yeah, big time.
California, all the stores are cleaned out of everything. I mean, right now I can't even buy 5.56, but because I'm prepared and I have 5.56. But I'm an avid gun collector. I all the weapons that are in my house has at least one round. Some of the reason why it only has one round is because the rounds are freaking expensive.
That's when you shoot somebody with it and go, "That was the best $15 I ever spent."
Well, with me, with my being prepared, I've had weapons with just 20 different calibers, and I've got it now to where I've got a shotgun, 2 different types of pistols, 9mm and 44 Magnum, and I've got a 7.62 and AK-47 and a 22 long rifle. That's all I'm gonna ever need or ever buy.
Well, see, me, I'm more into archery than I am into collecting guns, as you've seen some of the bows I've got floating around. I've lost some of my equipment, which means I need to go out and I need to get proper fletching jigs and a few other things to get back into archery the way I want to. But, you know, quite frankly, my bow is nice and quiet. I can hunt with it if I need to. I can defend myself with it if I need to.
Well, there's a guy in town that stabbed a person with a freaking spear because he had his rights taken away because he was a felon, but he got a spear. When a lot of people don't understand that they can actually have a firearm type. It has a person that actually is a felon and actually in good standings with the state or U.S. federal. They can own a firearm, but it's black powder.
Yeah, like the 1860 U.S. Army Colt.
Yeah,
Right.
they can have that. Basically,
Because according to Texas law, that's not a firearm.
That is what they consider a primitive weapon, much like the bows.
Yeah.
I can tell you that primitive weapon still kill a motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Or a musket.
Yeah.
Because they have 50 caliber muskets that are streamlined nowadays. A person showed me one. It looked like an actual rifle. It was a 50 cal, but
Well,
it
a
was
rifle.
huh?
It was a rifle.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was.
a rifle.
But
Well,
he's saying
the
it
thing
looked like
is,
a modern one.
It looked like a modern one, like
Thompson center arms.
no 308, like a Ruger. But
But you can buy them off the shelf.
that
And
that weapon right there, I mean, it's still effective.
And realistically, in my opinion, probably a better option to have around if you're looking at times like this.
Yeah, only one shot though.
No. If you know what you're doing, you can, because they make them breech loading now, and you can literally take and you put your ball and your powder and all the rest of that, and you roll it into a piece of paper, and you can make several of those little rolls that you just breech it open and slide it in, and then close the breech.
Huh.
And you can reload them almost as fast as you can a single shot
I'm sorry. 30
lever action.
30 to 50 round drum on a freaking AR. Click.
Well, I reiterate, you can reload them almost as fast as you can a lever action.
Okay.
I mean, lever. You did bolt action.
Bolt action, yeah.
Bolt, lever, but
No. It's the same thing as like clipping magazines, dude. Don't worry.
No, it
about
didn't.
No. It's the same. It's the same thing
No.
as a clip in a magazine. They're the same thing.
No, they're not. and you're right. I did the wrong motion for the right statement, but still.
Yeah, that's another thing with people that are intelligent enough to know the difference and everything.
Which is few and far between
Yeah.
nowadays.
But I mean, we'll joke with. I mean, like we were joking right now with the magazines and clips, or how many magazines does your clip hold? What? You know how many rounds that my magazine holds? It's all to do with education. I mean, a person that doesn't know. I mean, it took me quite a while to understand certain aspects of a firearm. Yes, it took me a while because usually I was using a revolver, or I was using a lever action or a bolt action. I was in the military, and very very rarely was I shooting something that had a magazine or anything to that extent.
Yeah.
Once I bought it for myself, I educated myself because I didn't want to be a dumbass. Even though I'm a dumbass.
Well, that's like when I got into being a peace officer in the state of Alabama, they trained us on both revolvers and semi-automatic pistols.
Yeah, but also you got to look at is education once a year is not good enough, especially for cop. Cops only get, I think it's like 6 months. They have to read.
Now, the one thing that there's two things the Europeans do better than here in America. First of all, for your driver's license, you're trained for a year, all right? And we should think about doing that because, 3, 4, or a month of training for some old 15-year-old kid. Say, all right, you're good to go. No, that's not good enough.
No, it's 3 weeks, dude. Not even a month.
Damn.
Well,
And then their police officers over in Europe, especially over in the UK, are trained for 2 years on the law, which is what we should do over here. Because if you look at the police academies, they're trained to view the public as the enemy. They have been for decades. And if you talk to them, and if they're honest enough, they will tell you this. And
I can say that yes, to a degree you're right, and to a degree you're not. I mean, or at least for the training I got. They did train you to view the public as always being a possible enemy, but they also trained you to realize that those are the people you're serving. That your job is to take care of them.
But
So you're literally having to walk a tight line of protect and defend.
yeah, the weirdest thing that ever flipped me out. I mean, like really flipped me out was this one time I made a bad U-turn up in South Dakota, and Yankton, South Dakota. I got pulled over the cop. I was half expecting the officer, to be, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Blah blah blah. Give me the big riot act. I swear to God, that cop, I thought he was going to give us $5. That's how nice he was. I have never had a cop that nice. Ever.
Well, I mean, there are cops like that, and I had an encounter with one here a while back. I was speeding, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, and my license plate had the wrong sticker for the year, and I think two, 3 other things, and he
Basically, you're about in 1,000
Yeah.
You should have gone to jail.
Yeah, and he said, "All right, here's a warning. Get it all fixed." But I had, I had the sticker in my insurance and verification form, and I showed it to him. I didn't have I didn't have the current insurance verification form, even though he was able to pull it up and say, "Yeah, you do have insurance." So he could have probably taken me to jail.
Yeah.
And he said,
Impound
"All
your
right."
car and everything.
Yeah. He said, get it all fixed. Here's a warning. And I said, "Thank you, sir." And I shook his hand.
Yeah.
And this was a highway patrol in Oklahoma. So, but
Well, and like I said, it really does vary from precinct to precinct how they train their officers. Like, from some of the stuff going on down there in Dallas, those officers need a lot more training.
yeah,
But you go to some other areas but yes, I have talked to officers who were basically taught that, the general public is your enemy, treat them as such, no matter what.
yeah,
I've encountered, other officers who, similar to me, received training that, those are the people you're out there to serve. Those are the people you're out there to protect. But those same people can possibly be your enemy.
uh-huh.
You have a fine line you have to walk.
yeah,
Yeah. and half the time is just doing this weird thing is being polite and generous to the cop. I've had cops in our city of Wichita Falls that at first the cop was a douchebag. Now once I started talking to him, he figured out I was a dumbass. So he was like, "Oh, it's like a cute little puppy." But no, we actually had a good conversation. We talked. And like I always usually am, I was armed, and he talked to me, and eventually it came out to where I couldn't get away from the cop because we were talking about firearms for about 45 minutes. I was like, "Dude, I gotta go." But dude. I was like, "Dude, you need to literally get off your mother's teeth or something, man. I mean, you need some friends." I have friends, but it's just how you perceive a person and how you go out and talk. If you talk to everybody like they're just a regular person, you say hi, you smile at them, you're gonna get that back. Unless the person seriously has more issues than National Geographic, and then you're just gonna go, "Oh, I shouldn't be here."
That kind of falls into what one of my coworkers. They've got that personality that just really does push me to that point where, and I'm a relatively fair-tempered person from what everybody tells me. But this one person has that personality that pushes me to that point where I'm ready to just tell them off at any given moment because they're constantly talking down about everybody else in order to make themselves look bigger.
Yeah.
I can do this much and I do it this fast, and what's taking you so long, and why are you, and you don't want to do this.
I usually tell people like that. I usually just look at them straight in the eye. It's like, "Dude, I don't fucking want to hear what you're pushing right now, wherever."
It's
just walk away.
You run across those people that always have to feel like they're bigger than everybody else, and they will try to bring everybody else down rather than bringing themselves up.
I mean, I have you two on the show, and I don't have to.
You forgot to grab the magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying it's also small. You have to have a magnifying glass to get there.
Oh, God.
I guess leaving those pliers out my truck.
You gotta get those
tweezers.
No, the medical tweezers. Where you clamp
with the hemostats.
Yeah.
You gotta get some hemostats.
Where you clamp the veins.
You know, it all depends on the cop's attitude. All right, and I've had good encounters and bad. One of the worst is while I was farming, my father and I had a lease that we had a hot wire round, and it and a half worth of hot wire. 90% of it I had to walk to check because the mesquites and prickly pears were so thick that I couldn't drive. I could barely walk it, really. And because this place was overrun with hogs, meth heads, and we had rustlers and poachers out there all the time. Every time I went out there, well, every time I left the house, I was armed. And I had my pistol on my hip and 2 or 3 magazines, and I had a Bowie knife about that big on my other hip. And this was, I think, in August or so, and it was fucking hot as hell. About 110 or so, and I was sweating like a horn church. And I'm walking, trying to find, just checking the fence, make sure it's up. And I've got a fence tester in this hand, and I'm toting a water bottle with me, or jug. And as I said, I was armed. Well, deputy sheriff was driving by. He was a young cat, never seen him before. He stopped and said, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "It's going all right." And he said, "Well, what are you doing?" "I'm working." And I was already in a bad mood because I was sweating. And said, "What are those black things on your hip right there?" I said, "That's a pistol." I said, "Knife. You got a license for it?" And this is long before we had constitutional carry. I said, "Yeah, it's called the Second Amendment." "Oh, those are illegal. I think I'm going to have to take them off of you." I said, "All right. Well," I said, you can damn well try." "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, the minute you cross over into this property, which was private property, but I didn't tell him I wasn't the owner. I said, "You'll be acting outside your authority, and you'll be basically breaking the law." I said, "You won't be an armed peace officer. You'll be an armed intruder, intent on doing me bodily harm, and I will act accordingly." "What does that mean?" And I already had my gun up, or I already had my hand on my gun. I said, "If you come over and try to disarm me, one of us ain't leaving alive. Now, if you want to do this, get it on. But I got work to do, so if you want to push it, go right ahead." I said, "I ain't afraid to draw on you." "Well, that's a bunch of bullshit." I said, "No, it's a bunch of bullshit. You trying to infringe upon my damn rights, dude." I said, "I'm trying to work. I was minding my own business. You're the one that made contact with me." I said, "You need to drive the hell on and learn the damn law. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad situation for both of us." And he got pissed off and drove off.
Yeah.
I never saw him again. Don't know who it was. Never saw him before.
He probably told his boss, and his boss probably says, "You're going to get your ass shot."
Yeah. And I've also had there's another encounter about 3 or 4 years later where we had a deputy sheriff. He was not from the area. Was certified city boy. Didn't know shit from wild hunting, all right? And he was trying to get one cow that had got out on the main road back into the field where she was at. He had no clue what he was doing. And I'm driving by. I stop, pull off the side of the road. I said, "What are you trying to do?" He said, "Trying to get this cow in." I said, "All right, stand back." And I said, "Now, when I motion you forward, that's when you come forward. You do it slowly, quietly, all right?" And he had already opened the gate, and so I got her in there, and I motioned for him to come up because the gate was at the corner, where 2 roads meet, and it was right there at the corner, and I saw her trying, kind of thinking about going up the dirt road and instead of going to the gate, that's when I motioned for him to come up. So she felt pressure to go into the gate, and we got the cow in, and I got the gate closed. He said, "You've done this before, haven't you?" I said, "Yes, sir. All my life." So where are you from? New York. I said, "What the hell are you doing in Oklahoma?" I'm a veteran. Oh, okay. So well, and we talked for a little while. I said, "Next time you do this, get some help because you're a greenhorn big time." I said, you could actually get hurt or killed trying to mess with cattle." I said, "It's good that you're trying to help, but get some help from someone who knows what the hell they're doing."
Yeah.
So, and that was from the same department. So.
Yeah. Well, right now we're in a big crisis to the point where
A manufactured crisis.
A manufactured crisis to an extent. The disease is actually very bad, but
I've heard
people are going after. I've read articles that it destroys like 60 to 70% of your respiratory also.
Well, I've heard reports that people back in November and December, they got sick with what the doctors classified as upper respiratory infection. That was not the flu, was not the cold, was not pneumonia. They got better, and that was more than likely this COVID-19.
Yeah.
So, but the people that have died have had underlying medical conditions. They've either been very young or very old.
I was fixing to say, I'm not sure how far you can trust them, given what everybody has been saying, but both the World Health Organization and the CDC are saying that it is a virus that causes upper respiratory distress and can lead to pneumonia and SARS.
Yeah.
Now, as long as you are...
sinus infection can come up with like pneumonia.
Yeah. As long as you are not showing any massive issues in breathing. In other words, as long as you're capable of breathing okay, they are recommending that if you think you have it, quarantine yourself at home.
Yeah.
But that's mainly because they're trying to limit. If it's not a severe enough case, the hospitals can't do anything for you. And if you go into the hospital and you're not a severe enough case, all you're doing is spreading it.
Yeah.
But if you are a severe enough case that the hospital has to intercede, they do have treatments that they can use for pneumonia, and they can basically keep you breathing until your body can fight it off.
I also heard that the antiviral or what the medication.
I know what you're talking about. There's a reason why you need to buy a lot of toilet paper. That what you're talking about is the stuff to stop malaria.
Yeah.
There's a problem with that.
What? Diarrhea?
No. Basically, it's one of those drugs that the disease is not as bad as the cure.
Yeah. Well, hell, that's most drugs nowadays.
Yeah. Well, you'll get the possibility of you having night sweats and nightmares and everything are high with those, and it's hard to sleep. It pulls on you very hard. I'm not saying not take it. If it cures it, it cures it. But I'm saying that there is very, very it's like I taken it. My brother-in-law has taken it for malaria, and you have to. It just makes you feel like crap.
What really makes me wonder though is, and I can't say I'm an expert in this by any means, but they have a very large degree of viral inhibitors that they've been using. Why is it that they have such a wide spectrum of viral inhibitors? Why couldn't they just work on formulating a viral inhibitor?
No, that's what they're trying to do.
That would work toward. Well, no, they're trying to work on a vaccine.
And they're doing. Sorry, they're doing both.
Oh, they're doing both, but and would it be possible that any of the viral inhibitors that we currently have could also possibly work on the corona? Because, like I said, I'm no expert. I don't know how the viral inhibitors work, but I do know it to some degree prevents the viruses from latching on and infecting cells.
Yeah. Well, there's actually conjecture as to whether a virus is a living organism, because bacteria are, because they have, they can replicate, they have DNA, whereas viruses have RNA.
Some viruses have DNA, some viruses have RNA.
Yeah.
But RNA is the base of DNA.
Yeah.
RNA can actually become DNA of its own accord.
Well, that's the.
Yes.
Oh.
I think so.
Yes, it can.
Has it been proven in a...
Well,
They've
the
done
RNA.
it. They've done it in labs.
My. Okay.
Basically,
my thinking of RNA, what RNA was, is basically it latches on to already cell that has DNA. It puts its own DNA in.
Yeah.
And transforms it into its own DNA.
Okay. RNA is ribonucleic acid. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Which basically it's the difference between half of the helix and a whole helix.
Okay.
So RNA that is capable of self-replication can replicate, and if one of those self-replications manages to attach, you've now got DNA.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, they've done it in the lab. They've shown it in the lab that RNA can become DNA with enough instigation.
But does it happen in a natural environment?
They believe that it can happen in a natural environment, which is...
Show me the proof.
Well, again,
People used to believe that the world was flat, too.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that, I don't have any of the actual numbers or anything else on it. I'm just saying they believe that it's possible, and that's what they're actually claiming for some of the wonderful explanations that they've got for some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
But...
Well, some people believe that, Texas is the best state. And they're wrong.
There are some lines of...
There's so much stuff that's wrong with that fucking sentence. You have no idea. I mean, we did get rid of the crappiest part of our state, anyways.
What, the panhandle of Oklahoma? Yeah.
That's a piece of shit. I didn't know you could shit upward, but apparently you can.
I thought we were talking about California.
California wasn't part of Texas. Well, yeah, it was.
Yes, it was.
Well, not the Republic of Texas.
Not the Republic of Texas.
Technically, the entire area of Texas, all the way out to California, was acquired all at the same time.
Yeah.
It was all part of the same.
Yeah, and they split it up.
And then they split it up. So, if you really wanted to look at it that way, we got rid of California too.
Yeah.
Texas got rid of all the crap. But on that note, that's the end of the our little session here about the Constitution. First part, talking about the First and Second Amendment.
How the hell did we go from that to talk about the virus?
Dude,
We weren't even trying. We just migrated.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about this. I really don't. We can. We'll spit here on the actual stuff that we're going to be talking about on this show, but in all reality, it's more or less just us talking shit about stuff.
Speaking of belief, it's also a belief that, how can I phrase this? That
You got the First Amendment. Go ahead and phrase it the way you want to phrase it.
Well, I kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, oh well. I hate getting old.
That's the reason why you need to jot the stuff down.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm David Dickerman.
I'm Michael Moffitt.
I'm me.
Steve Bags.
I'm Steven Bags.
And this is Angry Meat Production. Thank you for watching.
See ya.